So what we'd like to do is zoom into some mega trends that we find particularly interesting. So Marco is going to take us away with last mile delivery, and then Cabello is going to take us away with Proptech and the Latam VC environment.
Thanks, Blake. So yeah, like Blake said, this month's focus is on last mile delivery, something that we've deemed to be a mega trend. And there's a lot of tailwinds and industry growth potential in this specific vertical, which we're quite excited about. And here are just some numbers for you guys. Last mile delivery is expected to grow from 100 billion market in 2020. We haven't received the 2021 numbers yet, to over $400 billion industry in 2027. By 2030. This exudes a CAGR of 10%. Bain reported that the e-grocery market, which is a specific niche within last mile delivery, just in the MENA region alone, expected to grow to 26 billion by 2025. Another positive tailwind, the growth of the middle class and large digital penetration and internet usage in these regions is going to be a catalyst for growth for on-demand delivery and instant access of goods. There's an increased implementation of smart technology and automated systems, similar to Internet of Things, which has allowed companies to use real-time information to improve the end-to-end process and facilitating the exponential growth of last mile delivery. Like everything, the industry is not without risk, so there are some risk considerations that we look at. The last mile delivery portion of businesses often makes up more than 50% of total shipping costs. Businesses using or relying on last mile delivery often consume a lot of capital, so they're quite capitally intensive, and this leads to large margin compression. The large capex required to establish effective solutions in a competitive market makes it quite difficult. But again, like Blake said earlier, it's important to sort of pick winners in this space. It's quite a complicated area with technical delivery networks, complex technology solutions, and warehousing. However, we at simple.Capital are really bullish on this vertical. It's primed for growth in various jurisdictions. There's a number of companies that are raising a lot of money in this space and have exuded very high valuations. So we're really bullish on the growth. Some areas are more attractive than others. I alluded to the growth potential in MENA, which is something, again, we're really excited about. There's specific geographies that benefit from cost arbitrage and result in these companies being margin positive a lot quicker than other regions. In an industry or in a time where these businesses are operating, they're primed for growth because of how much of a remote working world we live in, how digitally driven the current environment is, and the e-commerce and instant gratification environment which we're currently in. We believe there's enormous potential for growth in the sector, and specifically in the MENA region. In close proximity to MENA is India, which have a number of extremely successful and highly valued last mile delivery businesses. Zepto, a 10-minute grocery delivery business in India, was valued at 900 million last month, and Swiggy, an Indian food delivery business, raised over $1 billion at a $5.5 billion valuation in this last quarter. I'll hand over now to Cabello, who will take us through some Latam and Proptech megatrends.
Thank you, Marco. Just taking a different view, we're starting by looking at the region first and then zoning in on a particular trend within that region. Focusing on Latin America as an investment region, they currently have a population of over 650 million people. And looking at it size-wise, it's the same size as Southeast Asia, but double the GDP. And in 2021, there was a breakout year for venture capital funding for companies with companies raising over $15 billion across 772 deals. And this was quite a feat, considering that the sum value of $15 billion was more than that was invested in the past 7 preceding years. Within 2021 as well, there were 16 new unicorns that were minted, with some of them as recent as 2020, being founded as recently as 2020. And one of the biggest drivers with this is towards the funding and everything that's been happening within Latam as a region was, the digital adoption that's been driven by the pandemic and the need to really go digital. And since they have been starting on a lower base, their adoption pace has been quite high of late. Just looking back to the kind of sectors that received funding in this period in 2021, fintech led the sector with 39% of funding going towards that. The second being e-commerce at 25%, and the last being Proptech at 9%, which is the sector that we're going to focus on a little bit more in just a second. Just going back to the global venture capital slowdown and global macro conditions that are actually surrounding the world, there has been a slight decline in funding for Q1 2022 within the Latam region from a value perspective, but there have been more deals that have been done between Q1 2022 and Q4 2021. And even having said that, there's been a decline in the amount the value that's been raised and backing companies within this period between Q1 2022 versus Q1 2021 is still higher in this period, just showing that there's still quite a bit of legs within the region. Just focusing and zooming in on Proptech now, being the third biggest sector within Latam for receiving funding. Despite the really large population, the market in terms of technology use in the property market is quite unsophisticated from a Latin perspective. The big property market players are the brokers, developers, real estate agents, administrators, and so on. And the market is is not consolidated at all. And that's where the opportunity then lies. The fact that there's more opportunity to use technology to solve existing problems. There has been a huge drive and a huge growth within the Proptech market from the tailwinds of the COVID-19 pandemic as well, and the digital adoption. And one of the key things within the market that they'll be looking at is actually looking at what developed markets have done, like Europe and USA, and really learning, adapting, copying and improving what needs to be for solution-based things within the Latam region. There has been, in terms of the top 10 deals that were actually done in Latin America last year, 2 of them were within the Proptech market, with Loft and Quinto Under. Loft raising $525 million last year, which is a real estate marketplace for selling and buying property, and Quinto Under as well, an online real estate marketplace that raised $420 million in 2021. So in terms of the focus areas where Proptech will be growing, really are the areas where there are online services and digitizing everything within the supply chain of real estate. Platforms for easier rental and selling of properties like Loft and Quinto Under, and also real estate as a service, where we're looking to see companies come up with more efficient ways of doing things within the value chain of real estate, which could be providing access control products, which could be providing products that help financially the back end of how you run your real estate communities and so on. And definitely, given that they are still quite unsophisticated, this is where there's a huge opportunity for growth and expansion that we're hoping to be a part of and we'll be keeping an eye on going forward.